Will Aphelion run on handheld? Today we are checking it out on the Xbox Ally, the Xbox Ally X and the Legion Go 2, all running Windows. Now we do not have an MSI Claw currently, so please stop asking. When we get one, it will appear in these lists. And I'm not using the OG Ally and the Ally X because I have SteamOS installed on them at the moment, but you can expect similar performance to the Xbox Ally X on those devices. Now this game actually says handheld optimized on the Xbox Store. This is a Game Pass game, so just bear that in mind, right? That's why I'm running it here. But yeah, handheld optimized. let's see if that's true. Oh, and side note, I've got an AR screen protector on this now. Video coming soon. If you want to know about that, subscribe. So let's kick this off with the Xbox Ally. And as you can see, I've got shaders. So pre-compilation shaders, it's taking an age. I'm at 31%, and I've been sat here for several minutes now, so whilst we're waiting for that, let's just go over what else we're going to be doing, right? I'm going to run this thing at max power because this is the Z2A. It is the weakest handheld out there, basically, bar the Steam Deck, right? So let's just see how this goes. I'm going to pump this up to maximum. You can create your own profile here. Obviously, you can just go turbo, 20 watts, right? Or you can plug it in, or you can create your own by going into Armory Crate. Now, I'm going to be running this at 720p, of course, and then we'll go from there and change the resolutions and stuff. I've got CPU boost off, and I've got 6 gig of VRAM on this device, and that's basically it until we're done with shaders. We are only 50% through. So after waiting a literal age for those shaders, I've now loaded into my save, and I'm a floating head. That's cool. This game is a little bit buggy and a little bit janky from the maybe hour or so I've been playing on the Legion Go 2. That's how I sort of like got to a point where I thought, okay, now let's test these devices, right? But yeah, check this out. Do you like floating heads? Because that's what we're running with at the minute. Well, and now it's actually just popped in. This area is pretty demanding, as you can see. There's a big view distance going on. There's a big cliff just here. And yeah, like there's lots of particles and stuff floating around. It actually looks pretty good, to be fair, even though we're only getting like 28 FPS. But I haven't messed with the settings at all yet. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go into the game, right? And go to settings. And let's go to video. It's defaulted to borderless, so 720p. That's fine. Let's just leave it there, right? I've got unlimited frame rate, so there's no cap going on. We've got TSR, which is the default at 75%, and this is on all low as far as I'm aware. I did turn off VSync, so we don't have VSync on, and as far as I'm aware, low preset, yep, is on all low. But I'm very interested to see what detect hardware does. So auto detect hardware. It's just gone ahead and put stuff to like very high just here. So effects quality very high and view distance quality very high, but everything else is on low. That's weird. Why would you put the view distance, which is extremely demanding, really high? Okay, cool. Let's try it, shall we? So let's go back and go back into the game. And we're at 400 FPS, that's good. Nope, we are now dropping down into the 20s, low 20s. Yeah, I'm at 23 FPS here because for some reason it's decided to do draw distance to very high. So the auto detect hardware thing, do not use that. Like that's just not going to work. This kind of system I fully expect to be everything on low. But remember we are at 70%, oh sorry, 75% resolution here. So we're not using FSR or any other upscaling methods here. There isn't any frame gen in this game. So if you want to use it yourself, you're going to have to use lossless scaling or AFMF2 via the AMD software, right? So let's just, oh, it actually, when I put it on auto detect, it also bumped the resolution scale to 100. So sorry, my bad. That was actually at that. So before it was at 75%. Let's just go ahead and apply that before I mess with anything else and see if that nets 25% more performance. So before we were getting like 23 FPS. We're now sat at around, still going down, 27. All right. 27 FPS, that's not too bad at 75% resolution scaling. I can deal with that, right? That's fine. So that's not too bad. I mean, it's not playable. I wouldn't recommend playing at 27 FPS, but what I mean is, you know, we've just net some performance there. So anyway, let's go ahead and do this properly now. So let's just go all low because I don't expect anything else to be running on this one. So it's very slow to go through this menu system. Here we go. So all low, yep, that's cool. And then I'm going to just go back and check this now. Right, so everything's back on all low and 75% resolution scale. And let's just see how that holds up. So I'm just going to run up and down this area. We're at like 29 FPS, 28 FPS, 29 FPS, 30 FPS. So we're at that sort of 30 base mark, right? And it's going to dip down into the sort of high 20s as well when we're looking at this massive open scene just here, which is understandable. Let's go ahead and try some upscaling. So we're going to change upscaling from TSR to FSR. So we've got FSR 3.1. And let's just go ahead and do performance. I have previously put sharpness to 50% when I was testing this on the other device. So this might be on 0. You might want to bump that up. So I'd recommend performance, and let's just go ahead and try that. So now this is effectively a 50% upscale from 720p. So it's what, 360p that we're upscaling from. And we are netting more performance. It's climbed up to what, 36 FPS? 36 FPS. Obviously, we still got ultra performance to try as well. We're now at like 33 when I look at this big, vast area just here, which, you know, I would expect. So we're hitting to 32, 33, which isn't too bad, to be honest. This is the kind of game where you could get away with running this at like the sort of mid-30s point. It's kind of slow. There's a lot of mountain climbing, like a lot of climbing, a lot of walking, and a lot of jumping around, right? That's pretty much all this game has been so far in the first sort of hour or so. It's kind of, I can see some stuff glitching in the background there. Do you see right in the distance? We're getting some artifacting in the distance just there on the shadows and stuff. But yeah, like I said, there is some bugs in this game. I've seen quite some stutters and things like that, even on the Legion Go 2, which we haven't got to yet, but you know, that's where I played the first sort of hour of this game. But running around this area, which is very demanding, you know, you're looking at 34, yeah, around the low 30s mark. Let's just try putting this on ultra performance, shall we? So it looks like we're absolutely going to need not native, ultra performance. There we go. And let's come back out here and just see if we net some more FPS here. Now, obviously, it's totally dropped the resolution down. If you look at our protagonist here, she's all sort of like, you know, jittery and like the classic things you see from ultra performance at 720p. So we are upscaling like very aggressively here, very aggressively. But we're at 39 FPS. And again, look at the background, look across there, like you can see all the mountains and stuff like jittering hard. But we are at 39 FPS. Remember, everything's on all low. When it said handheld optimized, I kind of expected a handheld graphics setting. But I suppose they just mean whack everything on low and upscale as aggressively as you possibly can. And I mean, it's capable. I mean, remember, we're on battery power here. We are running at 20 watts, but we're at that sort of 36 to 40 FPS mark. And I think that's totally acceptable on this game. So if your only device is the Xbox Ally here and you really want to play this game, remember this scene in particular is extremely demanding. So there will be other areas where it's not as demanding, where the draw distance isn't as great. There's not as much stuff being rendered, right? Because there's a lot of like walk through this cavern, like jump through this area, which were performing better than this area. That's why I've chosen this area, because it's very demanding and I thought we could get a good baseline of how sort of bad your performance is going to be, right? So I do think if you must play on the Xbox Ally, then yes, it is playable. You just want to whack everything at low and go to FSR 3.1 ultra performance. And again, remember, you can throw frame gen onto the top of this. I wouldn't, just personally, because it will make it very slow and clunky because your base frame rate is just too low. If we were getting like 60 FPS, then yeah, go ahead, throw some frame gen on by lossless scaling or AFMF2, right? And then you would visually get 100, well, up to 100, 120 FPS, and it would still feel like 60. But throwing frame gen on this, you're going to have the like latency on top of 30 FPS latency. I wouldn't recommend it. But that's down to you. So there we go. That is the Xbox Ally. Yes, it's playable. It's not great performance, but there we go, it will play it. And now we're on to the Xbox Ally X. Just here, we are waiting for shaders to compile, but it is going a lot quicker than the base Xbox Ally was, because in just, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds or so, we're already at like 60% done. So it's a lot faster. With the base Xbox Ally, you know, I was waiting around for like 5 minutes for this to load. But anyway, whilst we are waiting for these shaders, I am running this, well, at the minute, 13 watts. That's not what I'm going to be running this at. I'm just going to click 25 watts turbo, right? Well, no, let's just go ahead and just max this thing out, shall we? So I'm just going to go ahead and go and just max this all out and go up to here and just make sure that's maxed and then hit apply like so. I'm going to put the real-time monitor on so we can all see what's going on. I'm going to leave that at 1080p. I've got CPU boost off, and there we go. I am running, I believe, 10 gig of VRAM here as well. So that leaves 14 to system. But remember, I am on Xbox mode, right? So Xbox full screen experience. So I'm saving some system VRAM there. So 14 to system. I've got 10 to VRAM just here. And now I'm just going to click continue, and you can see how long it takes for the game to load. On the Xbox Ally, we did have floating head syndrome for a while. Oh, we've come, no, here we go. We are floating head again, which doesn't appear to happen on the Legion Go 2. We haven't got there yet, but I played the beginning of the game for like an hour or so on that. Oh, and now we've popped in. On the base Xbox Ally, it took longer for the character to pop in there. And this game does have some bugs, let's say that. Like there's some glitching and stuff going on. We might see some in the distance in a minute like we did on the Xbox Ally. But yeah, I've chosen this area specifically because this area was quite demanding. So this sort of like run up the mountain, because we've got this huge mountain just here, and of course a massive draw distance over there as well. So, you know, it's a pretty demanding area. So there are some areas of the game before this, and I imagine after as well, that aren't as demanding as this bit. So this is going to kind of be one of the worst case scenarios. I haven't messed with the settings either yet, and I assume it just kept the same settings as what I had running on the Xbox Ally. We will find that out. Let's just get to the top just here, and let's go ahead and see what's going on in the settings, shall we? So over here we were on video, we're on borderless, right? I am just going to go to full screen, so I'm just going to hit apply. We're at 1080p. I've got unlimited frame rate in terms of there's no cap. Here we go. So we've got FSR 3 Ultra Performance on. I'm just going to turn that off and go to TSR and 75% resolution scaling, right? No, actually, before we do that, let's do the old auto detect hardware. Because remember it said this is handheld optimized? Judging by what it detected for the Xbox Ally, I wouldn't necessarily believe that. But anyway, let's hit auto detect. Yeah, there we go. Look. Textures, it's gone medium. Effects, very high. And then view distance, very high. That is such a weird auto detect. I wouldn't trust it one bit. And let me guess, has it put the, yep, it's put the resolution scaling to 100%. Okay, let's check that out, shall we? Let's give it a second, because we're definitely not at 500 FPS there. We've jumped right down to, into the 20s. 20, 28, yeah, which is what I would expect, because the draw distance being on very high in an area where there is an insane amount of draw distance being able to be rendered is probably not the best idea. If I turn around here, I expect the frame rate to climb, and it's not. Okay, we got 1 FPS, but yeah, so I mean, I would not be putting draw distance on very high here because, I mean, this is at like 27 FPS, 26 FPS. We're just going down. It's not playable. You need to have a minimum of 30, right, for this kind of game. We don't want that, so let's just not go ahead with their settings. Let's go ahead and go to video, and I'm straight away just going to try 75% on here. So this is 75% like native resolution, right? So we've got 25% upscale. Then I'm going to go ahead and just go to all low, and we'll go from there. So we're going all low, and let's back out. Remember, we're at 1080p. So let's just give it a second, because we're definitely not in the hundreds of FPSs. We're now in the sort of high 30s, which totally is playable. You know, this is much better, much smoother, and it still looks really good. Everyone bashes like low settings on PCs, and that's fine if you're running like a discrete graphics card, but on these handhelds, low graphics settings at a decent resolution actually looks fine. You know, like it really looks fine. Like look at this mountain, like it looks really good, really crisp. There's lots of detail there. Like, you know, I don't see a problem with all low settings if it's going to net you more performance. And often I'd rather not upscale as aggressively and just drop it down in terms of like graphic settings. But we're basically at like 40 FPS or mid to high 30s. I'm seeing like lows of 37, highs of 39 or 40 even. And that's pretty good. You know, this is totally playable now, I'd say. So cool. Now let's, before we do anything else or choose the FSR upscaling, right? Let's go ahead and just drop this down to 720p. I'm not going to go for everything, we'll be here all day, but let's try 720p. And remember, we're still at 75% upscale here, so there's still a 25% upscale, sorry, so 75% of native resolution of 720p. And we're now at like the sort of high 40s, way more playable, still looks really good. Like it still looks very good, everything's very sharp, which is what I would expect to see, right? It's probably the way to play this is like this, 720p with 75% resolution upscaling on TSR, and then everything on low. And then you're gonna net like basically 50 FPS, which is really good. And now it feels way more responsive because we've got a higher frame rate. It still looks all really good, right? And let's just see if you wanted to bump up the settings a little bit, then you can go over here. Bear in mind, there's no default frame gen in this game. I'm just gonna go ahead to medium. I'm not gonna go any further than that because I don't think it's gonna handle it, but let's just go to medium and then back out. And this is the default medium preset, right? But yeah, if you want to use frame gen, you're going to have to use lossless scaling or even AFMF2 on the AMD software, right? I'm not going to do that myself, but you can do that. I'm just showing you what the base frame rate is. So throwing frame gen onto like 50 FPS will net you, I don't know, somewhere between 75 and 100 maybe, and you'll still get the latency of around 50 FPS, which I think is acceptable. Just obviously remember you will be getting some artifacting there as well. But we've got like 45 to 50 FPS here. It doesn't feel as smooth for some reason. I'm seeing more jutters and jitters. Like it just seems a bit more stuttery than when we were on all low. But now we're on all medium, right? And we're still getting around the same frame rate. So pretty good. But like I said, for some reason on all low, it did seem to be slightly less stuttery. Do you see sometimes there's artifacts in the distance where stuff's flickering? So just bear that in mind. But anyway, there we go. So that's that. Oh, I pressed the library button. Nice one. So let's go into the settings and go, let's go back to 1080p. And what we're going to do is go back to low. And then we're going to go to FSR 3.1, and let's just go ahead to ultra performance. We're at 50% sharpening as well. And let's just see how this goes. Remember, we are at 1080p and ultra performance as well. So immediately it looks worse. And we're getting around the same frame rate. Like I say it looks worse, just everything looks softer. It just doesn't look quite as good because there is a bit of a tax for using upscaling, right? Especially as aggressively as ultra performance. But we're getting around the same frame rate as if we just went low and 75% TSR on 720p, right? So it's give or take the same, and we're getting around the same performance. So that's ultra performance all on low at 1080p. So now let's just go ahead to performance, where it's going to look a little bit better, right? It's because we're not as aggressively upscaling. Yep, immediately it does look nicer. Straight away it looks nicer. And we're getting a little bit less FPS. We're now dropping into the like low 40s. Are we going to drop into the 30s? Yep, it looks like it. 39 I saw. So we were at the sort of 40 FPS mark, but I don't know if you'll be able to catch it on the camera, but it definitely feels a little bit more stuttery. It's just not as smooth. I would still probably recommend not using FSR at all and just using the TSR 75% at a lower resolution. But we're at like 40 FPS here. Let's just now just try and go ahead to 900p. Let's try that with performance, right? And let's just see if we net some more performance here. Let's give it a second, because we're definitely not getting 500 FPS. And we're at the sort of 40s still, sort of low 40s, 41, 42, 40, that kind of thing. So yeah, okay. And then just for the sake of it, let's go ahead and go 720p. Remember, we're doing a 50% upscale here, so we'll be on like 360p now. And I think this is going to look worse than just using TSR, but we should hopefully get some more performance here. Let's just drag that back into the corner. Low 40s again, so still around the sort of 41 FPS mark. So again, I would probably say keep it at 720p, change this to TSR 75%, right? And let's just try that again. It does look better. It does look better without using the FSR. FSR just looks very like muddy and sort of not as stable. But this is probably how I'd run it myself, right? Like this. And just bear in mind that I am running this at maxed out. We're at 35 watts across the board, and we're still only getting like 40 FPS at 720p at 75% on all low. So, I mean, they say handheld optimized. That's not handheld optimized to me. But there we go. Is it playable? Absolutely. Yeah, totally. It is playable. You can get up to around the sort of 50 FPS mark, above the 40s. It's totally playable, but you will be chucking a lot of power into this device to do this, right? Because let's just keep those settings right and just hit the 17 watt performance mode. I expect the performance to drop down quite considerably. We've just got to give it a second for it to sort of like level out there. We're already going down into the 30s, the sort of mid 30s. So 17 watts, it seems like we'd be at the sort of mid 30 mark, which is, again, you would kind of expect that, because jumping up to 35 watts doesn't really output too much performance gain on these devices, or at least the Z2 Extreme, right? The sort of sweet spot is like 20 watts on these devices. But yeah, it is totally playable, but I just think it could have been optimized a little bit better. But anyway, that is the Xbox Ally X. And now we're on to the Legion Go 2 just here. And I didn't get the floating head syndrome load-in that I got with the base Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X. And of course, this just looks beautiful on this screen. And I have applied, anyone that has been following the channel, I have applied the AR screen protector now. Which is really, really cool, actually. I'm going to do a video in a couple of days about this screen protector, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see that one. It's very, very cool, like super cool. I will tell you all about it in that video. But anyway, this game does not run in 16:10, even when you select a 16:10 aspect ratio, which is weird because the loading screen and the main menu bit is in 16:10, but when you load the game, it's in 16:9, so you will get the black bars at the top and the bottom. Not that it really matters, because we've got an OLED here, so, you can just play it like this, but whatever, like, fine. Let's just jump into the settings. Oh, before I do that, actually, let's go ahead and look at this. So I am at 1200p. I've got my frame monitor on, and I have whacked this out just so it's in line with what we did with the Xbox Ally X. I will drop this down to like a lower TDP soon, but we're just maxed out at 35 watts currently, right? So let's just go back into the game. For some reason, you have to touch the screen, like when you go in and out of the side menu on this, it just doesn't like register the input. So you've got to like touch the screen and then you can do stuff again. So let's go to settings, let's go to video. I'm in full screen, 1200p, no frame cap just there. We've got TSR at 75%. So we're like 75% of 1200p, right? So it's like 25% upscaling. I'm going to go down here actually to continue what we did with the other devices of auto detect hardware, because this is meant to be handheld optimized. This is the one that is actually throwing the highest graphics settings. So it's detected the system and gone, hey, let's just push everything up. On the Xbox Ally X, it didn't even try and run this much, you know. So it's gone basically medium across the board with very high effects quality and very high view distance quality, which for some reason it loves to do that. Oh, and it hasn't changed the upscaling, the resolution scaling. On the other devices, it whacked that to 100. So it's still at 75%, but we're at this area where there's an incredibly high draw distance, right? Which is why I've chosen this area, because this specific area is extremely demanding. There's a massive mountain here. There's lots of snow and different effects going on, and a massive draw distance, right? We've got like huge draw distance going on. So why it's decided to throw like draw distance at the highest is it just beats me. So with their settings, handheld optimized, right, running 35 watts, we're getting 33 FPS, 34 FPS, which isn't too bad actually, considering that the Legion Go 2 has a VRR window from 30 to 144. So we are going to get VRR within playing like this, but this just probably isn't how I'd recommend playing it. So let's just ignore their settings and go ahead and just go all low. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit all low, 75% upscaling again. We're leaving it at native 1200p, right? And let's just see what this is like. Just bear in mind we're throwing all the power at this. We're throwing 35 watts at this, which is ridiculous. And we're still, what, getting 35 FPS, which is what it looks like just here. Yeah, 35 FPS. It looks quite locked at 35. Oh no, 34. So we're basically at 35 FPS, which, to be fair, with this kind of game is totally fine. Oh, we dropped down to 31 there as we sort of traverse this area, but 30 to 35 FPS, which for some people will be fine. It feels fine. There's the odd stutter. Do you notice that? Like sometimes when I turn the camera, it's like, ugh! I think that's just because the game's not like well optimized. I noticed that on each handheld. There you go, there's another one where it just seems to skip. It's not fluid, even with the VRR, being within the VRR window on this device. Yeah, not ideal, but whatever. Let's just go ahead and go to video and drop this down to 1000p and just see what it does on that. We will go ahead and obviously use FSR upscaling in a moment, but let's just keep it like this. So this is 75% of 1000p on low, and we've jumped up to like 40 FPS. Way better. You know, it's nice and smooth, and because we're still at 75% like native resolution, everything looks really good. And we are all on low, right? But everything just looks super sharp, super clear. Like, it's really good. I'd much rather run at a lower resolution without upscaling, or at least minimal upscaling, right? On low settings, because it often just looks so much sharper. Like, if you look at our protagonist here, she actually looks really good. She's not all jittery and stuttery because there's not like aggressive upscaling going on. But that camera motion, man, I'm seeing like, it's not like smooth frame pacing at all. Like, not at all. It's playable at like 40 to 45 FPS that we're getting here, but not ideal. Again, that's just a game problem, not a device problem. I forgot to say we are running 16 gig of VRAM on this. Let's just drop down to 720p equivalent, so 800p. Again, 75% of 800p at all low. And let's just go ahead and see what we get here. Let's give it a second, because we're not running 500 FPS just there. We're not running 160 either. And we're at the sort of mid 40s, 40, 41, 42. And I imagine it to climb up to maybe 45 once we get up to the top. But around the 43, 40 FPS mark still looks really good, even though we've dropped down to 800p. But that frame time pacing like issue is not ideal. Just a bit, you know. And remember, we're at what are we at? 35 watts. That's pretty mad, right? So let me just go ahead and drop this down to performance, which is 20 watts. The game is probably going to break now. Yeah, I thought so. Oh no, here we go. So we're now at 20 watts, but we're at 800p, 75% of 800p on all low. And we're still at like 40 FPS, but yeah, can you see how like jittery that is? And remember, we've got a shed load of VRAM to play with as well, so I'd expect it to be smoother than this. Again, I think this is a game issue rather than, you know, just optimization rather than anything else. But there we go. So yeah, you can run it at about 40 FPS at 800p, 75% upscaling on all low at 20 watts. Let's just go ahead and go back to 1200p, right? And I'll keep it at 20 watts and let's just see how it deals with it, right? Let's go to FSR 3.1 and we'll try Ultra Performance. Now I expect this to look a lot worse, but let's just see how it goes, right? So yeah, it immediately doesn't look as nice. Everything's a bit more blurry, jaggedy edges. If you look at our protagonist, like as she moves, she's all like fizzly and crackly as you would expect. We're still getting like 40 FPS with Ultra Performance FSR 3. So I wouldn't even bother using upscaling, because upscaling like this is quite demanding when you're upscaling as aggressively. You will take a performance hit before that sort of like frame rate boost gets put on there. And there is, can you see the graphical glitches in the distance there with like shadows and stuff? Not ideal, but again, we're at 20 watts here, so it is playable, but I wouldn't run it like this myself, but there we go. Let's just go ahead to go to performance, and let's just see how this goes. So performance, I'm going to back out. Immediately looks better because we're not upscaling as aggressively, but now the frame rate has gone down, so we're at like 35 FPS. If you can hear yawning, that's my dog that's trying to get my attention because he wants to have a play, but I'm going to have to say no to him. We're at 30 FPS now. Yeah, so that's performance, but remember that's 1200p. So let's go down and go to 1000p and just try this, right? So I'm just going to go there, and I'm going to keep it on FSR 3.1 and performance, but we're now at 1000p, all low, 20 watts. We're not getting 300 FPS. Let's just give it a second. 37 FPS this way, but look at it. Like, it doesn't look great. There's stuttering. This is even worse when we were using TSR. Like, it feels worse. The image stability is just dropped heavily. The frame time is clearly out of whack here. But yeah, okay, let's just try one last thing of going down and going to 800p, which is basically 700p for 16 by 10 aspect resolutions, right? And let's just see how that goes. So let's give it a second. We're at 37 FPS. Let's just do a cameras test. Stutters all over the place. Again, like the frame time is all over the joint here. And you could just see stuff in the distance like jittering. It's specifically above the character's head. If you look above the character's head in the distance there, you can see stuff like fizzing and crackling all over the place. Not ideal. I wouldn't run it like this. I just wouldn't. Like, FSR is not the be all or end all. I would actually knock that on the head, go to TSR, 800p, 20 watts, and let's just go back, and it immediately looks way better. Like, it's so much sharper by not aggressively upscaling, but the frame pacing thing is just horrible. Like there's just like stutters and stuff all over the place. Yeah, it's not ideal. Like, it's not ideal, but it is playable. The game is playable on these devices, but I mean, they say handheld optimized. Is it really? Meh. Yeah, there you go. So there we have it. It does absolutely run on all of these handhelds, even the base Xbox Ally, which is running the Z2A. So that is cool. They say it's handheld optimized on the Xbox Store. I'd have to disagree with that. The auto configure in the graphics settings is just wrong. Like, I wouldn't recommend going with that like whatsoever. And unfortunately, people are going to click that thinking that it's actually going to be usable, and then they're going to be like, why is this run terribly? So you can go through this video again, of course, and then see how you'd like to run it. I'd recommend just probably using TSR, 75% upscaling at like 800p or 720p on both of these devices, all low, and that will just give you the best frame rate. But unfortunately, even when your frame rate is fairly high in the like 40s, 50s, which seems to be what we're going to get in this game without throwing like frame gen on and stuff like that, you're still going to get frame time pacing issues, stuttering. There's going to be visual like artifacts going on in general, because the game is kind of buggy. I mean, you saw on these two devices when you loaded up, we were just literally a floating head running around for like minutes before the character's body decided to pop in. So yeah, handheld optimized, no. Can you play the game on these devices? Absolutely. It's on Game Pass, so if you've got Game Pass, it's not going to cost you anything, so at least you can try it there. But yeah, there we go. That's it running on these devices. Don't forget to subscribe to see the AR screen protector video that will be coming soon for the Lenovo Legion Go 2. Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments whilst down there. Like this video, subscribe, become a member, and you get to chat to us over on our private Discord. And I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.